There's a coin that's been waiting 5 years for one piece of paper. 5 years of lawsuits, speculation, and price swings that would make any investor dizzy. XRP has survived an SEC lawsuit, a settlement, a commodity classification, and billions in ETF inflows. But none of that is permanent. Right now, the Clarity Act is sitting on the Senate floor. It has until August 7 to pass before Congress leaves for summer recess. If it does, XRP's commodity status becomes federal law, something no future administration can reverse. If it doesn't, the bill dies, and the wait starts over. XRP is trading at $1.10 today. Where it ends the year depends entirely on what happens in the next 3 weeks. And the numbers right now? They're not looking great. Let's start with what this bill actually does, because most coverage gets it wrong. The SEC sued Ripple in 2020. Ripple won. The case was settled in 2025. And in March of this year, the SEC and CFTC jointly classified XRP as a commodity, not a security. That was a huge win. But here's the problem nobody talks about. That classification came from agencies. The SEC and the CFTC are political bodies. The next administration could reverse their decision with a memo. Institutions managing other people's money, pension funds, insurance companies, endowments, they can't build portfolios on ground that shifts every election cycle. They need permanence. The Clarity Act gives them that. It would transfer primary oversight of digital commodities to the CFTC, define what a digital commodity actually is, and write XRP's classification into the United States Code. No future SEC chair can undo it. No executive order can override it. That's the prize. And it's closer than it's ever been. The House passed its version of the Clarity Act in July 2025. The vote was 294 to 134, with more than 70 Democrats crossing the aisle. That's a comfortable margin. The Senate Banking Committee advanced its own version in May, 15-9. The bill has been on the Senate calendar since June 1, eligible for a floor vote at any time. 6 weeks later, the vote still hasn't happened. Here's why. The Senate Banking Committee and the Agriculture Committee each wrote their own version of the bill. Negotiators have spent 10 months merging them into a single text. Senator Cynthia Lummis said this week that the final text will arrive soon, meaning the drafting is finally done. But even with a unified text, the math is brutal. The Clarity Act needs 60 votes to pass the Senate. Republicans hold 53 seats. That means at least 7 Democrats have to vote for it. Only 2 Democrats have committed, Ruben Gallego and Angela Alsobrooks. And both have said their committee votes don't guarantee floor support. The bill is 7 votes short with 3 weeks to go. So why can't Republicans find 7 Democrats? The answer has nothing to do with crypto policy. The dispute is over an ethics provision that would stop senior government officials and their families from profiting off crypto businesses the bill would regulate. That language is aimed directly at President Donald Trump. Trump's financial disclosure showed roughly $1.4 billion in crypto-related income last year. Democrats say the current ethics language doesn't go far enough. They're withholding their votes until it does. And here's the irony. Trump publicly pushed for the Clarity Act. He wants it passed. But every time he pushes, the odds go down. Polymarket has the bill's passage odds at 31%, the lowest they've been all year. CalSure puts it at 36%. Both fell after Trump publicly endorsed the bill. The closed-door talks on the ethics language broke down in early June and haven't restarted. That's 3 weeks of silence. Here's what makes this moment different from every other XRP narrative. The money is already there. It's just waiting for the law. More than $1.4 billion has flowed into spot XRP ETFs since they launched last November. That's without the Clarity Act in place. Institutions bought the introduction, then paused at the uncertainty. Standard Chartered projects an additional $4 billion to $8 billion in ETF inflows could follow if the bill passes. That's several times what the funds have gathered in 8 months. There's also a second catalyst. In May, Trump signed an executive order asking the Federal Reserve to open its payment systems to crypto firms. Ripple is one of the firms in line. A Fed master account would let Ripple settle transactions through the central bank's rails without going through an intermediary bank. The Fed hasn't ruled yet. The order asks rather than commands, the Fed is independent. But if both the Clarity Act passes and the Fed grants the account, you have a double catalyst. So where does XRP go from here? 3 scenarios. Bull case, $5. This requires everything to go right. The Senate passes the bill. The Fed grants Ripple a master account. ETF inflows hit $10 billion. Standard Chartered originally had an $8 target based on that. They cut it to $2.80 when inflows slowed. If all three catalysts fire, $5 is possible by December. But each one has its own odds, and none of them are settled. Base case, $2.50 to $3. If the Senate passes the bill before August 7, we think XRP could reach $2.50 to $3 by year-end. That's a 127% to 173% move from today. It assumes institutional money that's been waiting on the sidelines starts buying once the rules can't be reversed. This is close to Standard Chartered's $2.80 target. Bear case, below $1. If the vote fails, or the recess arrives without one, the bill is dead until Congress starts over next year. The money waiting on the law keeps waiting. XRP already spent most of July trading near $1 for exactly this reason. Without the bill, it could fall below $1. So what's the takeaway? The Clarity Act is the most consequential piece of crypto legislation in American history. It would give XRP something it has never had, permanence. But permanence requires 60 votes. And right now, the odds are 31%. We'll know by August 7. If the bill passes, expect a slow institutional grind upward, not a moonshot, but a steady climb as billions in sidelined capital rotates in. If it fails, XRP goes back to waiting. The next 3 weeks determine the next 3 years. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe. I make videos like this every week. Drop a comment, where do you think XRP ends the year? And watch this video next for more on the crypto regulation landscape.